Today's my guest is Richard Johnson from Drugs of Fate. Hey, Richard, how are you, man?
Very good, thank you.
Yeah. Two
Nice to
bold,
talk to you.
nice to talk to you. Two bold men meeting.
We're not getting any younger, are we?
Yeah, me too. Uh, okay, let's start in not typical way. Let's start with tennis because you are outside your household. I'm at home, and I know you are a tennis fan. So now it's Roland Garros men's final, now in running. This Zverev is leads like 2-1 with Kuboli in sets.
Yeah, that's right.
And
And we were trying to watch that,
uh-huh,
um, and we didn't finish watching it. We started watching the women's final yesterday,
yeah,
and my understanding is the Russian won. The Russian beat
yeah,
the Pole.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
exactly. And Richard, what do you appreciate tennis for?
Like in life,
Uh-huh,
I'm lucky that I have a good job. I have steady employment. My girlfriend and I live in a nice place.
mhm,
Um, you know, my town doesn't have a lot of problems. There's good public transportation. Uh, when I get upset about something, I just sort of I try to have perspective and say like, well, at least I'm not living in Gaza right now or something like that.
mhm.
I mean, I guess it's kind of an extreme thing to say, but I just try to remember that there's lots of people in this world that have it a lot worse than I do.
Yeah. Mhm. And is tennis your favorite sport?
Oh, tennis.
Yeah.
I like watching tennis and I like watching football.
Mhm.
And I mean, in the States they call it soccer.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, the World Cup is starting.
Mhm.
People are excited about that.
Mhm.
And we have a couple of teams that we try to go see in Washington, D.C. a couple times a year. The DC soccer team for men's is called DC United,
Yeah.
and then the women's team is called Washington Spirit.
Uh-huh.
So we like to see them.
Okay. And do you have any favorite teams? And during this coming
I don't pay enough attention to pick one.
uh-huh,
I just like watching, like,
uh-huh,
in just in general as a casual
uh-huh.
viewer.
Something to relax.
Yeah,
Uh-huh. Why I'm asking about tennis because tennis is considered as a sport of the upper class as golf.
yeah.
And I'm asking ironically, of course, doesn't that clash with your ethos?
No, I know what you mean, especially with golf. You're like if you're playing tennis, you're lucky if you're like sponsored by the country that you're from, which happens sometimes.
Mhm.
Like even if it's not the Olympics, if you're just playing in, Roland Garros or something. Um, there's a few there's a few success stories. Maybe this happens all over the world, but here in the United States, there's a few very successful tennis players who came from nothing. Their family came from nothing, and they still managed to become great. And an example of that, they call her the GOAT.
Mhm.
Serena Williams.
Yes.
Serena Williams. Maybe the greatest female uh, tennis player that ever lived, perhaps. She didn't come from money, but I know that's just a rare. There's a few other examples of that. I know that's a rare case. Mostly, you become successful at uh, tennis and are able to uh, afford lessons and all the equipment and everything because you have money.
Mhm. Mhm.
Sure.
Yeah. In case of women, there is a Coco Gauff, there's a Iva Jovic, and both are seen as the hopes of American women's tennis. And in the case of men, there's a Shelton who is 24, there is a teen learner who is 20 now.
Uh-huh.
Am I lose someone?
Oh, I don't know. It's a little hard to keep track of the young people because
Mhm.
there's so many players, and it's always fun when someone shows up out of nowhere and then they suddenly go up the ranks. That's what happened with the isn't that what happened with the Polish player that lost yesterday? Like she sort of came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I'm a fan of Iga Swiatek.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
She got knocked out of Roman Garros, but I hopefully she'll come back in Wimbledon.
I think so. It's a mental case only, I think, in her case. It's about
Yeah,
mental only.
yeah,
She's physically strong, and the
yeah,
mental side is a bit quicker now. But I think, she's gonna win a lot of tournaments. She's young, she's 24 now, so
yeah. She has a
future is
long,
hers. Yeah,
yeah, she has a whole career ahead of her.
yeah, exactly. Richard, I'm not going to ask you about such a mundane thing like history of the drugs of faith,
Yeah, sure.
but was the power trio concept intended from the very beginning when drugs of faith was formed?
That's a good question. When we started, there was just two of us, and we couldn't play shows because there was only two of us.
Mhm.
And then we, I guess it's interesting because I would like to have. It would be nice to have two guitar players and
Mhm.
have four people because I write parts that you need two guitars to play. So when we play live, I pick out what parts I'm going to play, and I sort of like a combination of the two parts.
Uh,
But it's less complicated to have just three people.
mhm.
It's
Yeah.
like I like the power trio hit part of Voivod's history. I think it's heavy. I,
Yeah.
I love those records
Mhm.
just as much as all the rest of them.
Yeah.
So you could do a lot with a power trio.
Uh-huh.
It's cool.
And Voivod's power trio is your favorite one?
No, I just think it's just as good as all of the classic stuff.
Uh-huh.
It's
Uh-huh.
just different.
Yes. Yes. Once I've heard like the Def Leppard's vocalist John Elliott saying like a sense of humor has kept his band together. So what kept Drugs of Faith together?
Well, we've had a lot of lineup changes over the years, so I guess maybe the sense of humor isn't helping us.
Mhm.
We've had our share of drummers since we started in 2002, and we've had a few different bass players. I guess I just keep, you know, I want to keep going because I think I still have songs I could write, you know. So, uh, Ethan, we've been playing with him on drums for years now, and we're real proud of the last album we did, um, and the last 7-inch we did. Those are the two major things we did with him.
Mhm.
So, we're we still have good music that we can do. We're keeping the band going.
Uh-huh. And do you have those songs in your head now? Some
Yeah,
idea?
we've been writing lately to do another record after
Mhm.
Asymmetrical,
Mhm.
and we have a new song, working on another one. We prepared a couple of covers, and we're going to do a new one of our old songs over because we came up with a different way to play it, which is cool. So we're going to record it again. So we're collecting songs, and we'll see what we're going to do with them.
Uh-huh. Drugs of Faith have no qualms about refreshing older tracks or using songs from your archives, like re-recording songs for compilations, like an ode to those unwed from the debut album or the unreleased 2004 EP. On Corroded, there are also three re-recorded tracks from the aborted split with a Worm Gun. What is the reason for this? Are those songs are like simply too good to be forgotten, or do you prefer not to leave anything unused in band's archives?
Well, you've done your research. Those are like down in the weeds, Drugs of Faith references. So very well done. I'm impressed. Uh,
Thank you.
yeah. With the songs that we recorded for the Corroded album,
Mhm.
we had a disagreement in the band because we were going to do a split with a worm gun, like you said, for these songs, and then the split didn't happen. And I wanted to put the songs out officially anyway as like a little EP, but we had a disagreement about that and just let it come out as a demo. And we just put it out like on CDR.
Mhm.
And then we said, well, since it's just a demo, we'll record them again. And then when we got asked to do this anti-Trump comp, we didn't have any songs, so we just re-recorded one of our songs again. We didn't change it; we just did it again. And then the track from our first album that we were re-recorded for this Comp Kills Fascist Volume 2, we came up with a different way to play it, so it's different from the original.
Mhm. Mhm. And is the like songwriting process in Drugs of Faith mostly organic with like ideas emerging naturally as you play together, or do you usually start by discussing the core concept behind the songs and then work to distill them to their essence?
I usually come, you know how it is with bands. Usually, the guitar player and the drummer get together and they write.
Yeah.
So we do that, and I'll usually come. I'll have a couple or three ideas, and then I'll either say, I don't have a drum beat, I don't know what to do with this. Or I'll say, I have an idea, the drum should be something like this. And then we go from the first part to the second part like this, and we do go to the third part, and then we repeat the first part again, and then we do something else. It's just very general stuff like that. And then I'll sort of run out and I'll go, I don't know what to do after that. So we start building the song, and then I have to come back and try to come up with something else based on what we wrote to try to finish the song. And then Ethan will come up with ideas because we're very concerned with making sure the songs flow well,
Mm-hmm.
that they make sense and they're not just, so it doesn't sound like they're just stuck together like randomly. So he'll make suggestions and he might say, I don't like that riff, or we do that too often. We should do something else. So that's it's like that.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Richard,
And
like,
then
huh?
and then uh Ivan, the bass player, he's written some riffs and I have recordings of them. So I'll go through those and go, oh, I need a riff, so we could use that bass part here. And then I have to write a guitar part over it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's the bass part and then there's the guitar part, and often it's different.
Mm-hmm.
So if he writes a bass part, then I have to think of what am I going to do on the guitar.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, like your music comes from jams. It's not like working with a cloud.
I don't No, we don't do it. We don't collaborate over the internet. And I wouldn't say we jam, because when we say let's write it, we can write a song, I'll have a few ideas and I'll bring them to the practice, and then we'll work on them. Because some bands, they'll just come to the whole band will come to the practice room, and they'll just start playing something.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody will have an idea like right there on the spot, and they'll just start playing something, and then maybe somebody else have an idea, and then somebody else, and it's like completely new. It's from scratch. And we don't do that. I have to have two or three ideas that I bring, and then we go from there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's like less time consuming.
Uh, it's just that since we don't, it's been a long time since all three of us have lived in the same place, so we just don't get together and jam. The three of us,
Yeah.
We don't get into the rehearsal room and say, okay, what do you got? Does anybody have anything?
Yeah, that's the worst thing, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't do work like that.
Okay. And Richard, like since the debut album, some of the tracks were co-written by people outside the band, And could you shed some light on this participation of those people on these tracks?
Oh yeah, well, they were all in the band at one time or another, so
Okay.
we wanted to give them credit. And there were so many parts and so many of the different songs from different people. We couldn't really specify which person contributed to which song, so we just put it all together.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like for example, even on our new latest album, there's a few parts that we wrote with the guy that played drums on that demo we talked about. That I had played with him at other times, and I used it. So then I gave him credit for that. So you just like to give credit when you can, and when you remember which song it is. That's all.
Uh-huh.
I don't want to take a part that somebody wrote and not give them credit for it.
Yeah, it's a cool attitude.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. And how would you describe the evolution of Drugs of Faith over the years? Do you see any turning points in the band's history?
Well, as far as the way we write goes, I used to, in the early time part of the band, like on the first album, and maybe not so much on the second record. I used to have these songs where I'd complain about relationships.
Mm-hmm.
It was like bitching, and after that, all the songs have been social subjects and politics. So we don't write about relationships anymore. And then when we started somewhere in the middle, like before we did Corroded, I started listening to Killing Joke, and Killing Joke became one of my favorite bands. So that became an influence on the songs that I write. And so that's something that's a little different. Like on our first album, I think it doesn't have a Killing Joke influence.
Mm-hmm.
So over the years, if bands, if they've been around long enough, they'll start bringing different influences into the way that they write. I guess some bands, they stick to their guns and they're like, no, I'm only gonna write songs based on No Comment and Ass Suck and Drop Dead. That's it. I'm not changing, and that's cool too. But it's good to do things over the years, try to do things a little differently.
Uh-huh. And was Killing Joke influence music-wise or lyric-wise as well? Because
Mostly,
lyrics are really strong.
Yeah, mostly music-wise, like with the drums, the tribal drums, and some of the way they write riffs. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Richard, don't you think that it's actually funny that the more people, like in interviews or reviews I've read, try to put a label on Drugs of Faith, the more you escape from labeling through your music?
I haven't noticed that. We've been using this tag for a while called grind and roll, which I think is pretty accurate. So we say that. When I describe the band to people and they don't know anything about it, I just say it's a metal band. And it's, of course, like you can't just say it's a metal band. It's more complicated than that. But I don't think I've disagreed with labels. So people say hardcore and punk sometimes, especially on our first record. People thought the first record was really punk, and we weren't trying to be punk. That's just how it turned out.
I can agree because yesterday I found on YouTube your gig from 2005, I think, and it was like 15 minutes long, and I was like, this is pure hardcore to me. You play as a hardcore band, and for example, like I found like a gig from 2025 or 20 years later, I was like, it's much more chaotic and rapid.
Oh, okay.
So,
I mean, the old the one from 2005 had different people in the band too, and of course that makes a difference.
Mhm.
Like we have a gig on our YouTube channel with a guy. He didn't like doing four counts,
Mhm.
so we had to just look at him and start the song. You
Okay.
know, we had to watch him. The drummer. We just had to watch him. Do that, and we start. And that's very different. You
Uh-huh.
know.
It's more based on your instinct
Yeah,
and seeing things around you.
yeah, that's right. You have
Because
to keep your eyes open.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You don't know what's gonna happen in a minute or a half minute. Richard, like you mentioned the grind and roll label.
Yeah,
Like in the case of Asymmetrical, like the paradox of this album is like even though I realize this album sounds clearer and less sonically aggressive, and it's also catchier, like
yeah,
compared to the DK EP. It's still
yeah,
harsh, it's still raw, and it's still angry. So
yeah,
it's hard to mention. Is it like it's like I think it's the core of the grindcore, a grind and roll, because on the one hand you have this aggressive shots, and other hand you have these catchy tunes, and all is like really balanced on this album.
yeah. I'm glad you mentioned all that and you noticed it because we try to have a balance. We try to have a good mix. Um, we, if it's possible, we try to have a surprise or two.
Mhm.
It's kind of like one of the things I've said before is it's hard for me to say what a Drugs of Faith song sounds like, but I know what it's not supposed to sound like. If we come up with something and I say that doesn't sound right, then it's easier for me to hear that, you know. Yeah, so we try to make something. We tried to make asymmetrical sound, like new.
Mhm.
Maybe is one of the words I would use.
Mhm. So what's the like typical Drugs of Fate songs should not be like?
Oh, should not be like.
Yeah.
Um, we were writing a song for asymmetrical, and we were having a hard time figuring out what to do with it. And we had this idea we were working with for a while, and then I said, you know what? That sounds like Anthrax.
Uh-huh.
And Ethan, the drummer, said, I don't think it sounds like Anthrax. And I said, nah, you know. So we changed it.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I like Anthrax, but it's not appropriate, you know.
Uh-huh.
And then, we've got slow parts,
Uh-huh.
but we've never written a doom song,
Uh-huh.
because we don't play like that. That's just two examples right there.
Mhm.
Some bands can write, they have I don't know, a good example is a Rotten Sound, you
Mhm.
know, one of the best grindcore bands in the world, right? But then they'll have, I don't know, how often does this happen? Once or twice on an album, they'll have a doom song. I mean, it'll still only be like 2 minutes long or
Mhm.
something,
Mhm.
and that's something we don't do.
Mhm. Mhm.
Uh, you know,
Mhm. So like listen to Killing Joke and listen to Anthrax doesn't mean you have to sound like Anthrax and sound like Killing Joke, okay?
I'd say that the main influences, at least for how I write,
Mhm.
Napalm Death, Voivod, and Killing Joke.
Yeah.
And then Ethan's really into black metal.
Uh-huh.
So we have some parts sometimes where he has these kind of black metal drums,
Uh-huh.
you know. So he does that. We have it. The One of the new songs we wrote that we're working on. There's a part I refer to it as a Hell's Headbangers part.
Mhm.
We've never done that before.
Mhm.
You know.
Yeah. Like you mentioned Killing Joke, you mentioned Voivod and Napalm Death.
Yeah.
I found there is only a little bit of Entombed as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah.
In one of your interviews. And we have spoken about the Killing Joke, but are you able to point out what you drew from the other bands?
What I drew from like
Yeah,
Entombed and Voivod
and what Voivod and
and Napalm
Napalm
Death.
Death.
I mean,
Yeah.
I've been ripping off Napalm Death for years. Going back to Enemy Soil, uh, and Entombed is more of that. When we talk about the and roll,
Mm-hmm.
it's they have death and roll, we have grind and roll.
Yeah.
So that kind of the thing that they do, we use some of that. And Voivod, a lot of the chords that I try to pick out, and the like some of the beats. Like for example, there's a song on there might not be a song where all the way through it sounds like Voivod. It'll just be parts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
There's a song on the split we did with Antigama.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's got a song where the way we started it, what we were thinking of when the way we wrote it, we were thinking of Voivod.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is ripping some ideas, and the other thing is ripping entire song structures from the like Killing Joke.
Yeah, we try not to just
Mm-hmm.
we try not to steal. We more like going, oh, it's cool how they did this. Maybe we could do something like that and change it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to, like you said, I don't want to rip a band off. It's just, it's. I think my influences are obvious, but maybe they're not in every song that we write.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
And the obvious thing is like Drugs of Fate is not a fucking cover band.
Well, we like doing covers.
Okay, but you're not the cover band.
I mean, we did a cover. Uh, we've played Napalm Death covers live, and we did a cover for the Decibel magazine
Mm-hmm.
series, and there's a cover on Corroded. And
On Asymmetrical there is also a cover.
there,
Yeah,
there's a
Doom or
cover on
something. Yeah,
DrDoom, exactly.
yeah.
There's a cover on there. Yeah, and it was great. I brought the DrDoom song to the guys, and they said, "Okay, let's do it." And I really like, I love DrDoom, and I really like that song a lot because I think it's cool how they have the blast parts,
Mm-hmm.
and then they have the rock part. So I thought that song was perfect for us to cover.
Mm-hmm. And have you ever thought about making a cover EP?
Yeah. I don't. Maybe we can collect all the songs together, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We
Mm-hmm.
haven't thought about it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's a good idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. And to add another one or two songs, and
Yeah.
yeah. And Richard, was releasing the False War on Whirlwind Struggle, the anti-Trump compilation, a risky move because of the this political background in USA?
I mean, it's still low profile.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they only made so many copies of that, And plus, that was after the first Trump administration, not with the new one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they still would have done it anyway,
Mm-hmm.
regardless. It was a small thing. It's good to be part of a benefit
Mm-hmm.
that has a good cause. Bad people are still. It's bad here, and the concern is it's going to keep getting worse. But it's not like you're living in Moscow and you might get taken off the street if you say too much stuff about Vladimir Putin. It's not that bad. I mean, having said that, it must be international news hearing about ICE. They kill people in the street.
Mm-hmm.
So in some ways it's not as bad as some other countries that have you know where people are living under fascism, but it's going that way here. And so that's what I think people on the left are concerned about.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Richard, like, why was Blower so cool, so wild, and so relentless, and why did it fail?
Well, that was Mason's project, and yeah, I think the thing I love most about Blower is the lyrics,
Mhm,
and the way he sang the songs on Blower is crazy. The vocals are very weird.
mhm,
And yeah, we only did one thing and then stopped. I mean, Mason likes to Mason likes to do a lot of different things all the time. Because he's done a ton of projects after that. He's done so many he probably can't keep track of them all.
mhm,
You know, he'll do something and put it online, and then he'll move on to something else.
uh-huh. Okay, and uh, and
Yeah.
and and is Pilau the band you are most creatively focused on when you are not active with Drugs of Faith? No.
Well, with Pilau, the drummer and the bass, again, the drummer and the guitar player write the music. Uh, when we're all at the practice space, maybe the singer will have a suggestion. Why don't you play that 4 times instead of 2 times or something? And then they'll show me the parts, and then I try to do something interesting with the bass. So I'm not just playing the guitar parts. I try to do a little something, you know, play it up instead of down, or play the root and play the play just play the basic part instead of playing all the guitar notes. Just simple things like that, just to keep it interesting.
Mhm,
And I'll have suggestions like, you know, they wrote this song that they haven't shown me yet, and it's long. And the first thing I said was, we should probably take that and break it into two different songs. So I'll have suggestions like that,
mhm.
like, you should play this part again at the end, you know, arrangement stuff.
Okay.
So it's nice. You know how people say, I'm just a bass player?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm kind of just a bass player. So, but those guys are a lot of fun to hang around with. So it's cool, you know?
But usually bass player has nothing to talk in the band.
Yeah. I mean, I've written a little bit of lyrics
Uh-huh.
too. So I contribute,
Okay.
put it that way.
Uh-huh. Mhm. Okay, Richard, the last question. And when I listen or read interviews with other musicians, usually the famous ones, the last question is often about advice for younger aspiring musicians. But I've never
Uh-huh.
heard, a grindcore musician give advice to a young person who wants to start a grindcore band. So what advice would you give?
The hardest part of starting a band is always finding a drummer. And if you can't find a drummer, or if you can find a drummer and it doesn't work out, because drummers are crazy, and everybody admits this, even other drummers. It's okay. It's okay to try to write with a drum machine, or you know, back in the Enemy Soil days, I actually had a drum machine. You know, but of course these days you can do things like make the drums in whatever, GarageBand or Fruity Loops, or whatever. So you can write things, and then you can record them, and then you can do a demo or whatever. And there's so many good drummers out there right now. If you want to put out a record, even if you don't have a drummer, you can pay somebody to play drums on it. And some drummers, they want you to tell them what you want, and then they'll do it. And then you might tell them, this is like the basic idea I have for a song. Here's a double bass part. Here's where I want the Slayer part. You know, here's the part where I want it to sound like Def Leppard, whatever. and then you say, just come up with something, because the person you're working with, maybe you know that they'll come up with something better than you will ever think of yourself, and you can put out something that way. I think, and so I think it's just hard. It's easy to get discouraged, but if you can't find people to play with, so you can play a show, you can at least record. That's good. And keep looking around, trying to find people. Try not to get discouraged, and try to make your own music. I did the same thing. When you start, you just make a band that sounds like all of your favorite bands, and that's okay. Lots of people just want to listen to copies of their favorite bands. They're like, oh, here's another band that sounds like Extreme Noise Terror. Great. But if you can do something original, something different, that's really good too. It's hard to be surprised these days, or even shocked. It's very rare to hear something and be shocked, I think, because there's just so many bands. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember the first time I heard Carcass. I still remember it, like in 1990 or 1991, the first time I heard Carcass, and I was like, I never heard anything like it before, and I was shocked.
Mm-hmm.
If you can do that, then you got something.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy. I don't know how to do it.
Mm-hmm. And that was the word from Richard Johnson,
Right.
Today's guest.
Yeah.
Richard, thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you. It was a pleasure talking to you, and I really appreciated the questions. They were different. And thank you for your research.
You're welcome. Thank you for your music. And for your smile, because it's not usual when you talk to somebody and someone is smiling all the time. It's when the two people are smiling, is like, it means that convo is really cool for both persons. So it's
I think so.
Thank you so much once again.
Thank you.
And take care, and hopefully to see you somewhere sometime in the future.
Well, I hope we come back. I hope we come back to Europe. That would be awesome.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Wish you a good day. All the best. Stay safe, and see you, Richard.
Okay, we'll keep in touch.
Yes, we are in touch. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.